I began reading Nicholas Kristof's column in the New York Times, I think it was 2003, and I think he was the only one writing about Darfur at the time. And I had one of those aha moments that I had lived long enough to understand how the Holocaust happened.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to say it was a very low moment, because I thought, well, I'm a good person. I work for social justice, I do community work, I teach, I try to lead a good life, and here I am having dinner at a local restaurant and there's a genocide going on. And that must have been how it was during 1933 to 1945. And of course I grew up thinking that all those people were evil and terrible, and that's how that happened.
Mm-hmm.
So Nicholas Kristof was the first big wake-up call for me. The word Holocaust is a Greek word. It means burnt offering.
Mm.
People started to apply that to what happened. Many Jews find that very offensive. There was no burnt offering there. They were destroyed. So they used the word Shoah, which means great destruction. But the word Holocaust was coined after World War II, in conjunction with the Nuremberg trials and the whole concept of the laws that were created so that the genocide wouldn't happen again. The Holocaust was a continuation of 2,000 years of Christian anti-Semitism.
Mm-hmm.
And a creation of Jews as something other than human, which is something you have to dehumanize your enemy. Right. We do it all the time. And in some people, some even Catholic scholars will say that it was inevitable, that the church didn't cause the Holocaust, but it was inevitable if you looked at that. In fact, Hitler at one point wanted to go after the Catholics. It's so nice that they wrote this all down.
Right.
And someone said to him, I don't think that's a good idea. And he said, well, we'll do this with the Jews. And somebody said, it'll never work. And he said, oh, really? Who remembers the Armenians?
Mm.
So the Holocaust was able to take advantage of deep-rooted anti-Semitism in Europe, and probably all of the world. Rwanda, I think, speaks to the issue again of we had no, at least in the United States, we had no national interest in Rwanda. And I don't think we have any interest in Africans or people of color, period.
Do you feel that the media, in a way, is covering Darfur the way that it should be?
A few years ago I would have said no, unequivocally, but I don't think it's that simple. First of all, it's not an easy place to get to.
Mm-hmm.
That's number one. Number two, even Nicholas Kristof will say that it's not clear and simple what's happening there. Right. We know for sure there's ethnic cleansing.
Mm-hmm.
And it has been called a genocide, but it's such a political mess there. And who wants to go there? I think there's a lot of apathy, and not just here, everywhere, but certainly here. We're about as far away from Africa as you can get. And our involvement in Africa is very well hidden, in the sense that I don't think anybody on the street would think they had any connection whatsoever. Genocide is something that humans do.
What do you think on an international base? How do you think the United Nations is handling this as far as peace plans and so forth?
I think the United Nations is fairly ineffectual. Some people call it a collection of thugs when you look at some of the,
yeah.
Some of the member states, who's running their countries. The Security Council, I think, it makes the U.S. and other countries look like we're running anything. And I think whatever legitimacy the UN had went down the drain when we invaded Iraq.
Right.
So I don't look there. Although they have agencies with people on the ground. There's a UN mission for Darfur, and I've actually spoken to some of the people who do that work, and they're very knowledgeable and they're very concerned, and they would fix it if they could. An interesting thing about humans is that you can avoid things, but once you know something, you know it, and you can't not know it. So I see my job as planting seeds. Maybe a student won't do anything, but they now know about Darfur, and someday that might lead to something.